All right, friends, this is Mama with Commas, Kate Moir, and today we have a very special guest, Sybil. Sybil Hale is with Pros Make Ready Sanitizing, but she's also the guru of networking locally and based in Oklahoma. So I'm really excited, Sybil, for us to chat about how you got into first just being your own boss with your sanitizing business, and then we'll talk about how COVID kind of changed the game for you. So how did you even get into this industry?
Well, I started in the industry back in 93, so 29 years ago, and I was working for a company and they were going bankrupt. And my boss was like, "Hey, you need to get into a business that's a need." And I'm like, "Okay, a need like what?" And he says, "Like housekeeping." I'm like, "No, no, no, no." Said I had a girl back in high school that did that. I'm not interested in doing that. But the more he talked to me, he's like, "Well, you can make as much money as an RN." Well, the bells start going off. I have two children at this time. And he says, "And you can work the hours that you want to work." And I was like, "Okay, maybe I need to look into this." So went and watched the girl that did some housekeeping, and it was like, I can do this, and started my business that way.
Okay, so
So
a lot
that's
of,
what got us
I
in.
think those are two common things that people want. And when they become an entrepreneur, they want the flexibility, but they also want to make a substantial enough income to make it worth their time. So
Oh,
I
certainly.
love it. So it doesn't matter what you do, as long as those two are in the forefront of your mind, you'll probably have the drive. Okay, so you got into house cleaning. So how did that morph into sanitizing?
I'm going to go through the fun story of why it actually changed.
Okay.
And I think it's really important for people to understand it's not all roses for business owners. I think a lot of people are so misled that they think when you have a business, it's like, "Oh, you've got it made, it's roses and you got all this money and you can go on vacation whenever you want to and all this stuff." And it's not that way necessarily. Most of the time, it's not that way. So 19 years into my business, I was on vacation. I was out of the country and I had a girl that was a no call, no show. And when I came home, I confirmed she was a no call, no show. And the way I had my business set up was my girls all had children. And so they were subcontractors. And the reason they were subcontractors is because I wanted to make sure they made more money and a better quality of life to live and pay their taxes quarterly or yearly instead of having to come out of their check every week. So with that, she went down and filed unemployment. She was a subcontractor and they gave it to her. Totally changed my whole business. You can't do that. She never paid unemployment taxes. She was not supposed to get it, but they gave it to her. So at that point in time, I fought as far as I could. And that was 19 years into my business. The whole reason, once I got the business going, was for it to take care of me in the end. And here I am 19 years into this, and somebody's coming in and actually changing the way I do business. And it was really hard. Talked to my CPA. He said, "Close it down, do it under a different name and do things differently." Mind you, when I started my business, I was 24 years old. I didn't have legal advice telling me how to do it. I just got out there and started doing it. And I knew there was a difference between employee, employer, and contractor, subcontractor. And I made sure I was working along those lines of a subcontractor. They told me when they wanted to work, how often they wanted to work, how many days they wanted to work, all that type of stuff. But what I didn't realize is that the checks need to be made out to a business, not to a person. And they were made out to a person. So that was really one of the biggest ways they got me. And so it was, "We're going to audit you." The Unemployment Security Commission came in, said, "We're going to audit you for the last 3 years as an employer." In other words, I'm going to have to pay taxes on the people that worked for me for the last 3 years. And I'm like, no, 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 not doing it. I 1099 them. I paid my taxes. Anytime I got cash, I turned it in. So I was a very legal, I did everything the way it was supposed to be done. And I was like, I'm not doing that. Talked to my CPA. He said, "Close it down, start under another name and do things differently." At that point, I decided I had 7 people working for me. We had about 75 businesses, people that we were taking care of. I gave 4 girls business clients and said, "Here's how you run a business." Showed them how to do the business in. Sent them on their way, said, "Be blessed, flourish, grow. I don't want anything. Just take care of the people. And I'd like to see you grow." The other 3, I couldn't really do anything with. They were newer. I didn't have any space for them. At that point, I kept a bunch of clients myself. And at that point, I decided I am no longer growing this business. I am done with this business. It took the wind out of my sails for the business. And it was like, I will take care of my people because you build those relationships, which is key. And I couldn't just let everybody go. But as time went on, people were not leaving me. And it was like, I am done. I want to stop doing this. So about 6 years ago, I semi-retired the business and kept my clients that were 89 to 102. And my goal was, as they go home or to a home, I am done.
Mm.
And at this point in time, 10 years later, I still have 3 clients that I personally clean for still. And just to let you know the type of work we do and the relationships, my 3rd client when I started 29 years ago is still with me. She was 65 when we started. She's 94 today. And in August, we will be together for 30 years. So that doesn't happen real often, but the quality of work we did and the relationship, and that just shows you also my heart. I can't make them start over. It's too hard to find good help. There's good help out there, but it's hard to find.
It is.
And I don't want them to have to go through that. It's too hard. So,
okay. So then, so now, like, tell us a little bit about now what you do, and then let's talk about your networking community that you've created.
Okay. So then what happened was in August of 19, still doing my clients, some things went a little crazy in my marriage and it made me hit my knees. And I was like, God, what do I do to create wealth, be obedient with that wealth, not be direct sales, and be something I can do, give back in a grander way in his name, not mine. And I felt like I woke up about 3 days later. It's like, you know how to clean, you know, manage people, you know how to run a business. Why are you not using the tools in your hands? And I'm like, God, just don't think you heard my prayer. I've been trying to get out of the business for 7.5 years at that point. I'm like, that's not what I want. I want something totally different. Well, after much arguing, he won. And we launched Pros Make Ready October 15th of 19, pre-COVID. And we started fogging, which I didn't realize that's where he was leading me. I thought it was going to be housekeeping. We started fogging December 23rd, and COVID hit the end of February 1st of March of 2020. And we were already set up and ready and going. So I give God all the glory. And I just teaches me that much more how important it is that if you ask and you pray and you hear, how you have to be obedient. And it was the hardest thing I could have done. And I'm so grateful now. He always knows best.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So that was total God wink. So, and we talked about networking and how that was also kind of a prayer or an answered prayer too. So how did that all kind of spark and how did you create that movement?
Well, actually, it was one of those things I had another friend that I do all this networking and stuff. I've been networking for probably about 7 years, really serious. And one of my friends came up and told me, she said, hey, I want to start a networking group teaching people how to network, because as you know, there's a way to network. Okay. And I was like, I can't. I said, I sure would love to, but I said, I got to focus on my business. But I'll tell you what, I'll do anything I can to help you. And in between, go talk to this lady who is an influencer here in the city. Between the two of you guys, you'll figure something out. They did. They launched their networking group. I went to the very first one. And at the end of the meeting, they said, go around and pick 2 people and set up a lunch. So I set up a lunch with a couple of girls, got to looking around the room, and there was 39 people in the room and I knew everybody. So I started going around just saying, hey, we're all getting together over at Whip Bakery Cafe, which is a cafe here in the local area. I said, come join us for lunch if you want to. If not, that's cool. So I called the restaurant or Whip Bakery. I said, hey, that room, would it happen to be open on this date? And I may have just 3 people, or there may be a group of people. I have no idea. So I saved the room. We had 38 people show up. Wow. I was blown away. I had no idea that would actually happen. So while we were in the meeting, or while we were in there, we all grabbed our lunch because that's what it was for. And when everybody was in the room, I'm like, oh my God, guys, do you see the power in this room? We have got to go around and find out who's in the room. So everybody got a 1 minute. And when it was over, they were like, oh my goodness, are you going to do this again? And I'm like, I don't know. Would you come? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, how about next week? I'm like, wait. No. Well, if we're going to do anything at all, it'll have to be once a month. That's how it started.
Wow.
And it has just took off.
I literally got chills from like my head all the way down to my toes when you said the 38 out of those 39 came. Like, it shows that, you know, when you link arms with other people, like, you know, your world kind of in a sense gets brighter and gets stronger because you can learn from each other and you can lean on each other and you can, you know, all the things. So, I mean, because of one of the people in your group, I've now met two of you, and so on and so forth. And that truly is the power of networking. I would have never met you from Oklahoma way up here in Manitoba, Canada. So I think it's really, really cool. So what you have started, and so how long ago was that you guys created your group, and how has it been going since?
We launched in May of 21. May of 21. So we're a year and a half. We will be 2 years in May.
Yeah.
For the first 10 months, we had one, which was mine. And I had a couple of girls reach out and say, hey, I want to do something like this on the east side of town. Can you show us how to do it? So after we had 3 meetings at the end, I just said, hey, do you want to just have a mix and mingle and just call it mix and mingle with us? So that's what they did. So that gave us 2, and that happened in March of 22. And then by September of 22, we had 6. And in October of 22, we had 13.
Wow.
And then right now we have 16 as of this month.
Wow. So 16 different opportunities to mix and mingle.
Yeah,
Wow.
these chapters, each what we call them chapters, and each one of them ranges between 30 and 60 people at each one of the meetings.
Holy smoke-a-doodles, hey?
I know. Is that not crazy?
That's so crazy.
So our original place, we had as many as 71 was our top number. And my concern was we're going to have to limit this. And I didn't want to do that.
Right.
And so that's when I was so grateful that the other 2 girls had stepped up and said, hey, I want to start one on the east side. When we did that, that kind of gave people more options of other places. That lowered our numbers some, which was more manageable as far as I didn't have to put a cap on it. And I don't want to have to put a cap on it.
Right. Yeah. And I think it shows that there's a hunger for that fellowship and that community, especially at the entrepreneurship level, because it can be kind of isolating working for yourself day in, day out, or you get kind of stuck in your zone. Like you said, originally you're like, no, I'm too busy. Like, I'll help you, but I'm over here doing my thing. But when you kind of keep your eyes open, it's like such a blessing that people underestimate the value of networking. So do you have any top tips for somebody who maybe is back like when you were 24 and kind of going off on your own adventure, or somebody right now that's thinking like, I'm feeling very alone in my business, or I'm feeling like that shift is happening and I'm not sure which direction? Do you have any tips for them?
I'd say if something is on your heart to do or a opportunity comes up, do it. Do it. Life gets by too fast. I am so grateful. I find so many people start their businesses in their 20s. And I think the reason why is life has not took its toll on you yet, right? You're invisible. You can do anything and everything. You're young. It doesn't matter. You're going to be fine, right? I think that's why businesses start at such a young age. But that doesn't mean that's when it has to start. I mean, there's tons of people in their 40s and 50s that start a business. It doesn't matter how old you are. You're never too old. Start it. Do it. Do it. I would rather go to my grave failing than to say, I regret I never tried. So I recommend do it. If you're in a place that you're stuck, relationships are key. Oh my goodness, reach out to somebody that you know has a heart of genuinely caring and wants to help. And that's where these networking events come from. Have you ever read the book, The Go-Giver?
I have not read that book, but I will add it to my list.
By Bob Berg. And that is what this group of people is. Everybody in this group have the same mentality of being go-givers. It's all about, what can I do for you? I'll get what I need in return. I'm not looking for that. It always comes anyways, because the more you give, the more you get. So if you are stuck, gosh, reach out to someone that is a genuinely true person that really wants to help.
Yeah. I think that's such great advice, because I think a lot of times business owners forget about that mantra, and it comes very clear in their content that they're all about like, what are you going to do for me? I need you to buy from me. I need you to, support me. I need you to do this. I need you to do that, versus like, how can I serve? How can I add value to your life? How can I, give or share something or connect you with someone? So for anyone that's listening and like totally inspired and got shivers from Sybil about talking about her networking and the chapters, or like, wow, I would love to start a sanitizing business, like reach out to her and pick her brain. If you are a person who's like, I'd really like to start something, I'm not quite sure, you can follow us. We have tons of free resources on the Momboss mentor and the link in the comments as well. But really at the end of the day, whatever's on your heart, like Sybil said, like just pursue it. You never know unless you try, and you won't, you know, there's no such thing as a failure. It's just, you know, a lesson, right? And so like all those little lessons lead us a certain path if we're open to receiving the lessons in that. So thank you so much, Sybil. I really appreciate you and your time. And if you're listening and you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that as well.